Hey, and welcome into the Big Ten Huddle. I'm your host, JR. That's Zack. We are presented and brought to you by FanDuel. Appreciate you being here as we're going to go through every single Big Ten football bowl game and talk about what do we think is going to happen. A lot of this is just us shooting in the dark because honestly, there's a bunch of players that aren't playing and everything else. Sorry. I've been losing my voice every now and then doing this. Great intro, by the way, by me. But some of this is shooting in the dark, but there is one game where we do not have to shoot in the dark at all because both teams are committed, and it's probably going to be my favorite bowl game of the bowl season. I'm very much so looking forward to Iowa and Vanderbilt. It should be a great time, but here is the guy who would never hire Bobby Petrino as his offensive coordinator. It's Zack Guggenheim.
Just why? What are they doing at UNC?
It is creepy college girl central over there at North Carolina.
It's not okay. I mean,
hire Brian Smith. They'll get the trio.
Oh my gosh. You know, someone clapped back at you on X being like, how could you say that as a Big Ten guy? And I'm like, listen, guys, we fire our coaches that are creepy.
Well, and I
don't hire them.
I saw that and I thought, who was the last Big Ten head coach that had a relationship with a student? Yeah, Sharon Moore did with his secretary, and he got rightfully fired for it. We have both condemned that kind of behavior. But who in the Big Ten had a relationship with a student? I can't recall one. Head coach.
It drives me nuts that we can allow that. Yeah, it's just absurd. UNC deserves the death penalty, and they're going to get it, not because the NCAA is going to do anything, but because Petrino and Belichick are going to burn that place to the ground.
Well, they're going to get the publicity in the off season that they want. I think they would just rather prefer to have the publicity during the season, as in like, this is a good team, and not in week one where it's like, yep, they still stink.
It's not good. It's not good.
Well, what we are going to be moving on to is all of these bowl games. We're going to go through each and every Big Ten football bowl game. We're not going to go like super in depth with all these because there are, a number of them. Washington already played theirs. We did a preview for that one and then recapped it. We probably won't do an individual recap for every single one of these. If there's like a really exciting one or something like that, like if Nebraska beats Utah, I might just get on here and scream for a minute about how crazy that is. But unless anything, if things don't go crazy, then we'll probably just kind of recap all of them in one episode and stuff like that. So pay attention. We have predictions for every single game. We have opt-outs for every single game. We are not liable if somebody opts out an hour later. Like, did you see last night after we did our Michigan State coaching stuff that they confirmed the two coaches that I said were rumored? As we were talking about it.
Hey, we were right. It's rumored. We were right.
That we were. So
yeah, it could have been worse. It could be like, they're rumored. Yeah, not even close. But that's not what happened. Confirmed.
Michigan State has come out and said they will never hire Courtney Hawkins ever again.
Yeah. And anybody who states that on a video should never podcast again. That's not what it was. That's not what it was.
No, it's not. All right, let's talk about these games, Zach. First one we have is New Mexico versus Minnesota. This is actually a really exciting one because, let me preface this first. Minnesota favored by 2.5 in this game on FanDuel. Over under set up 43.5. This is a really exciting one because PJ Fleck loves bowl games. I think PJ Fleck lives for bowl games. The only thing that stinks about bowl season is when PJ Fleck is not in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. That is my favorite bowl game that anybody's ever been in. Bert, getting Shane Beamer all mad last season. That one was very, very close. But the ending with PJ Fleck's bald head getting poured mayo on him, and hard, fully extended arms and everything. Hard to beat, but. This game with New Mexico and Minnesota. Minnesota has some guys that won't play in this one because they're in the transfer portal. Fame Ijaboy, Malachi Coleman, Kenrick Lanier are not going to play. It's rumored that Khalil Tafi, I believe is how you pronounce it, won't play, but he's hardly played this season at all. So, PJ Fleck does a really good job of kind of keeping this stuff under wraps. So there are a few guys that are kind of rumored, like There's a rumor out there that Darius Taylor won't play in this bowl game. I don't know. I'm just going to assume that everybody's playing unless we have an announcement that they aren't. So, New Mexico doesn't seem to have anybody out in this bowl game. Zach, with two teams that are pretty much fully at their best strength, presumably,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts on this New Mexico Minnesota game?
Just real quick, is the Darius Taylor rumor because he's going to enter the transfer portal, or is it just because he's going to go to the NFL?
Yeah. I mean, he's been rumored to enter the transfer portal, but like we said when we brought it up, like that same rumor was out there last year and it never happened. So,
Mhm.
take that rumor with a grain of salt.
Yeah. Um. So it's hard for me to know what to think about New Mexico going into this game because like New Mexico hasn't played anybody, and they played
UCLA,
they
they
played
beat UCLA.
UCLA. I'm getting to that.
Okay, sorry.
They lost to Michigan by 17. They got they beat a lot of teams in their conference. They beat UCLA by 25 when UCLA was at their worst. I mean, it's the game that got Deshaun Foster fired. So I don't know how much you can really take from that. At the same time, Minnesota kind of feels like they're 7-5, but like how good is Minnesota really? And I don't think they're like a great 7-5. And so this game, at least as I was thinking about it, feels more even. It especially feels more even if Darius Taylor's not playing. You look at Sagarin though, and you look at the power ratings. I mean, it's a world of difference. It's like a 30 position difference. And I think a lot of that's going to be in the offensive line, defensive line, which I know hasn't been the greatest asset for Minnesota, but I still think you're going to have a legitimate Big Ten offensive line against a group of 6 defensive line and a legitimate group power 4 defensive line, Big Ten defensive line against a group of 6 offensive line. I think you combine that with Drake Lindsay, who I think still is going to be one of the better quarterbacks in this league for the next couple years. I just don't. I came into this thinking, oh, maybe New Mexico has a chance. And I think they could. I just don't love I don't love New Mexico having a chance. I think PJ Fleck, and I think you may have mentioned this before, he is undefeated at Minnesota in bowl games. I think he's going to have his guys ready. I think they're going to be ready to go.
Yeah, 6-0. I believe he is the only Big Ten head coach that has played in 6 bowl games and has not lost a single bowl game. The next closest was Gary Moeller at Illinois and Michigan, who lost one, and Paul Christ was 6-1. PJ Fleck is 11, or he's tied for 4th with the most bowl wins as a Big Ten head coach. If he gets this bowl win, he will be solidly 4th and be the only one, like I said, with more than 6 who does not have a single loss. The only
That's
other one
crazy.
that doesn't have a single loss is Jim Young from Purdue back in the 70s, who is 3-0. Oh, and Mike Locksley is 3-0. uh, that's a fun one. And then Ray Elliott from Illinois is 2-0. That's really your only ones there. So yeah, I mean PJ Fleck, the man loves bowl games, and I love that PJ Fleck loves bowl games. He keeps things interesting for me. I will say on SP Plus, you do have New Mexico as a higher rated team than Minnesota. Minnesota is
Really?
74th. Yeah. New Mexico is 65th on SP Plus. Now New Mexico, they're about 70th in both offense and defense. 72nd in offense, 68th in defense. Minnesota is 92nd in offense and 44th in defense. You would think that would be what, the team that is higher. However, the difference, New Mexico, 15th in special teams, Minnesota, 122nd. So I would not be surprised if there is special teams shenanigans in this game for us to to see who decides to win it, and I think that's what New Mexico is going to have to do if they want to win this one. Jason Eck has gotten a lot of love. He's been a good head coach this season, coming in, I believe, from Idaho is where he was, and then he's come in this year with basically a brand new team, gone 9-3, and Jason Eck, alumni of Wisconsin, so there is no love lost between him and Minnesota. I think this is going to be a great game. But I do think PJ Fleck and his antidote of confidence that I think he's bringing back for this game. He has to bring it back.
Oh, dear.
All right. Give it to the boys, PJ. I think they win this one 27-24.
I think a key statistic in this game. So Jack Lane, the quarterback for New Mexico, hey, he's been decent. Has completed 66% of his passes, 13 touchdowns to 9 interceptions. That's not a great ratio, but he's been fairly good. He's been sacked 28 times. Minnesota, 35 sacks on the year. I think that's a key in this game. And I do think Minnesota wins. I think it ends up being a little bit more comfortable. I'm going to say 31-20 Minnesota.
You're a believer in PJ Fleck. I like it. I am doubting him a little bit by only having a 1-point win, but I'm trying to give my respects to one Jason Eck here. So very good, very good. All right, good stuff, Zach. Let's move on to our next one here. This is what was supposed to be the national championship. It's actually the Pinstripe Bowl. Going to be up north in Yankee Stadium. Clemson favored in this one by 3.5. The over/under set at 48.5 on FanDuel. Penn State does have a number of players out in this one, and so does Clemson. So what I have as out, and I'm not saying this is the complete list, this is just what I found. Good luck going out there and trying to find out every single opt-out of every single bowl game. It's rough out there, folks. Chaz Coleman is in the transfer portal. Elliot Washington is in the transfer portal. Reported today that AJ Harris has not been with the teams this past week, so he's not playing. And then Nicholas Singleton, Zane Durant, Zaki Wheatley, and Vega Iona are all entering the NFL draft and will not be participating in this game. Clemson, very similar. Khalil Barnes, D. Creighton, Jamal Anderson, all in the transfer portal. That's all on the defensive side, a safety and 2 linebackers. And then pretty much their entire defensive line, DeMonte Capehart, Peter Woods, TJ Parker, all going to the NFL draft, as well as Avion Terrell, cornerback, and Antonio Williams, wide receiver, off to the NFL draft as well. You want to talk about a guy that loves bowl games? It's Dabo Swinney for you. He loves bowl games too. He won the Gator Bowl 2 years ago, lost the Orange Bowl a few years ago, won the Cheez-It Bowl, lost the Sugar Bowl. So he's been very competitive. He had a really nice run back in 2014 there where he won the Chick-fil-A Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Russell Athletics Bowl. Back then he lost the Orange Bowl in the Meineke Carr Care Bowl. If you want to have a good time, yeah.
There you
want to
go.
have a good time, go back and look at some of these bowl names from the past. That'll
It used to be the Continental Tire Bowl. I almost went to that game when Larry Fitzgerald, who is better than Pat Bryant, Philip. Yes, I still remember that. Yeah,
better than
Pat Fitzgerald's better than Pat Bryant. Pat Fitzgerald's better than Pat Bryant. We're just, but that, yeah, that Pat Fitzgerald.
All right.
Wait, not Pat Fitzgerald, Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald. What am I doing?
I've got you messed up now.
Yeah, you did. It's your fault. No, I almost got to see Larry Fitzgerald in that game, but I didn't end up going. Anyway, besides the point.
Yes.
Continental Tire Bowl.
So, I'm going to be really interested in this game. Terry Smith obviously is the coach. He's not coaching a bowl game before, but he's the acting head coach. You got Anthony Poindexter calling plays for the defense and everything. So Matt Campbell, I don't know if Matt Campbell's going to be on the sideline. I would assume he would be. So I apologize. I did not see that stuff out there. But what are your thoughts on this Clemson Penn State game, Zach?
So it's hard to tell because of so many people being out. But I would make a strong argument that the opt-outs for Clemson impact Clemson more than Penn State's opt-outs impact Penn State. Now, anything can happen. We're recording this on the 22nd. This game is on the 27th, which, by the way, $60 to go to this game right now, to go see Penn State Clemson. in
That's one
Yankee
heck of a
Stadium.
prize for a national championship game, Zach.
Yeah. Well, and the environment, like Yankee Stadium
Yeah.
is pretty cool. I haven't
Yeah.
been there, but like I've heard it's state of the art facilities, obviously built for the, most expensive team in baseball.
Some would say Penn State, most expensive team
Oh,
college football. Not this year,
don't
but
go there.
soon to
Don't go
come.
there.
All right, just kidding.
Don't
Go
go
ahead.
there. Anyway. I also think that Penn State's trending up, and I feel like Clemson's just kind of blah. So I think maybe I'm being a Penn State homer. I think the fact that they're only losing one of their offensive linemen, their best offensive lineman, but only losing one to the transfer portal, and they still have Katron Allen, who has not opted out yet. If he doesn't opt out, I think they feed him 35 times and they win the ball game. And
That
so
was exact. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I'll go Penn State 21, Clemson 20.
That was exactly what I was going to say. I know Clemson still has Cade Klubnik. That's fine, but he's not been exactly, what everybody thought he would be this season. I trust Katron Allen a whole heck of a lot more, and I think Terry Smith, talked to Katron Allen. He said, "Come on, man, we need you. Just run the ball 35 times in this game. We'll make it happen," and I love it. So we're going to see Katron Allen one more time, it sounds like, as long as he doesn't opt out or anything. And if he does, I think that with the decimated defensive line of Clemson, and me just not believing all that much and the other players coming back for them, I have Penn State winning this one 24-21. So.
Yeah. I think too, just back to your point here, I think they want to win for Terry Smith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have like Tony Rojas and those guys playing in this game as well. They're not in the transfer portal or anything like that. So, yeah, it means something for these guys, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Before we move on, please do like and subscribe. We appreciate it if you do that. Not going to spend a ton of time on it, but if you like and subscribe, it definitely helps out the show. So please do that. All right, Utah and Nebraska. Oh boy, Zach, Utah favored by 15.5. And this one, Nebraska, the over-under set at 50.5 on FanDuel. And Nebraska, they have some NFL draft players out in this one. Emmett Johnson, Rocco Spindler. I believe I saw Deshaun McCullough is out for this one. Malcolm Hartzog is in the transfer portal. And then, of course, Dylan Raiola, but he was injured. He wasn't going to play in this game anyway. However, Utah, not as many players in the portal, but they do have some NFL draft guys that will be out. Their two tackles, Caleb Momo and Spencer Fano, are going to be out, and then Logan Fano is going to be out in this game as well. He is a defensive lineman out. He's opting out for this game for the NFL draft. I want to pick Nebraska so bad. I do think they have a chance with Kyle Whittingham not being there right now and that kind of stuff, right? So there's a chance here, but the line is big for a reason. If Emmett Johnson was in this game, I would be, thinking this a little bit more, but with him opting out, I still just don't really believe in the defense. We'll see what happens, but it's not looking good for Nebraska in this one, Zach.
No, and Kyle Whittingham is coaching in this game.
Okay, sorry. Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah, well, it's hard because he's like, I'm leaving, but like, when is he actually leaving? And it's after this game.
Does he put on the Michigan hat after the game? Say he's going to Michigan.
The real question is, will Michigan fans accept it?
They better.
Well, they don't like anything right now because they didn't get their main guys. There's not much to say here. Utah is the better team. They were going to be the better team even if no one opted out. Not only that, it just really feels like the momentum for Nebraska has really dried up over the past 4 to 6 weeks. I know that things were kind of on the outs with the Raiolas anyway, but that is a rough blow to their momentum, just from my player personnel and recruiting momentum. But then also just you look at what the product they've put on the field. I mean, Nebraska's been terrible the past few weeks. They've lost by 24 and by 27. They barely beat UCLA. And they were in it against USC. I mean, they only lost by 4 to USC, but those last two games in particular, they lost by 27 and 24. I think one of the things that are often indicators of success in bowl games is how are you trending going into the game? Nebraska has not trended well. Utah, on the other hand, I mean, they've given up a lot of points the past 3 weeks. Baylor 28, Kansas State 47, Kansas 21, but they've won all those games. And if Nebraska, to your point, was had Emmett Johnson and had a quarterback that I believed in, like, well, maybe Nebraska could exploit Utah. I don't think they can exploit Utah. I think this is a bloodbath. I think it's 45-10.
Yikes. I do think there's a possibility of this being closer. Utah, I do think they probably are a team with similar skill talent to Nebraska and some of that stuff. I do think TJ Lateef is somebody with some talent, not some talent. I think he's a talented player, and I think that he could do some nice things for him in this game. But without Emmett Johnson, it's going to be difficult. Honestly, if Nebraska just had a better defense, I would feel better about them in this game. But with the way the defense looked this season and the way the defensive line looked, I mean, I would think maybe they could take advantage of both tackles being out for Utah if they had a better defensive line, but they do not, and I don't think it's going to be magically fixed just because John Butler's gone. So we'll see what we'll see what happens. Matt Rule is 1-0 in bowl games. Does that change your mind at all, Zach?
No.
Okay. Neither. I did want to bring it up just in case, but no, I have Utah winning this one 38-17. So a little bit closer than you, but not too close. So, all right. Anything else on this one?
I could see it being only 3 scores if Utah lets up.
Yeah.
But
all right. This one should be lots of scoring. Over under in this one is 61.5. We've got Tennessee and Illinois. Tennessee favored in this one by 2.5 on FanDuel. Our friends over at College Football Nerds, not really our friends. I'm not too fond of them, but Zach is. Zach likes them. So they were saying that how embarrassing it is for the Big Ten that an upper half of the conference team in Illinois is not favored. They are the bottom half of the SEC team, Tennessee, is favored over an upper half of the Big Ten team. I'd like to remind everybody, Illinois finished tied for 7th in the Big Ten. Tennessee finished tied for 8th. Okay, so both about middle of the pack. All right, I don't think it's that big of a deal, and also I think we've seen before. The odds are always going to favor the SEC. You want to know what the line was last year in the Illinois-South Carolina game, Zach?
I think it was like -5 or something, -6.5.
10.5.
Was it 10.5?
Yeah, it opened at 10.5. It eventually got down closer to that range. But yeah, it opened at 10.5, South Carolina and Illinois. And Illinois won that game. Illinois is going to be without Gabe Yakus and J.C. Davis. They're on the offensive and defensive line. But Tennessee, their fans say they're going to have more out. So I don't want to act like this is the full list, but it is a number of guys that are going to be out. Boo Carter in the transfer portal. He's been in there for a while. Chris Brazzell, the wide receiver. Arian Carter, the linebacker. And Jermod McCoy, the cornerback. He's been injured all year. They are all going to the NFL draft, and they will not be playing in this game. So NFL draft talent for the two teams out in this one, but Joey Aguilar is playing. He's actually looking for another year of eligibility if he can. We'll see if he gets it. And then Luke Altmaier is playing in this game. Zach, with Brett Bielema, let me look up his bowl record really fast. I should be more prepared. With Brett Bielema being 3-5 in bowl games as a head coach, what are your thoughts on this game?
He might be 3-5 in bowl games, but does anyone really trust why can't Josh Heupel over Brett Bielema? Like, are we really?
Michigan fans do. The Michigan fans want him to be their head coach.
Well, they're stupid.
As I say, I think they'd take a potato as their head coach right now. So
sorry, I just called the whole fan base stupid. Let me walk that back. That idea is stupid.
I did kind of get your very first reaction to it when I said it. So
walking that back, let me dig myself out of a hole for a minute. Josh Heupel is not a good coach. My gosh, what are we doing? He's a mid coach. he's not been bad at Tennessee, but like let's not forget he also lost to like the third and fourth and fifth string receivers of Purdue a few years ago in this very bowl game. Like I don't I don't think Tennessee is all that great. I don't think Joey Aguilar is like I think he's okay. And I think Illinois I think Luke Altmaier is looking to have a bounce back game. Tennessee defensively stinks. And I think this is a game where Luke Altmaier and his receivers have a field day. Now, I think Tennessee will have a field day too because Illinois' defense has not been great. But I think Bielema knows how to coach. He's been very good against the SEC, considering he has to punch up often. And while I think Tennessee might be a little more talented, I trust Bielema more than I do Heupel.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. I think the biggest thing for Illinois in this game is I do think their receivers can win against the cornerbacks of Tennessee. I just think that Altmaier is going to need time back there in the
Mhm.
pocket, and especially without J.C. Davis. That offensive line had improved at points during the season, but it still wasn't great. If you look at SP Plus, Illinois only has the number 33 offense in the nation. Tennessee has the number 7. Now, I do not think SP Plus is the end all be all. Last year, they had Ole Miss, team that did not make the playoffs, as the second best team in the nation. So I don't think it's the end all be all. However, there is some validity to certain things there, and I do think that it needs to be mentioned and at least thought through what they're looking at there. Illinois has been very good on offense against some very bad teams.
Mhm.
They did score the most points that anybody has against Ohio State with 16, so that means something, I guess there. But overall, I think that this Illinois team is really going to have to keep Altmaier upright. They're going to have to do short, quick stuff, and Barry Lenny Jr. is going to have to call a really, really good game on the offensive side. Aaron Henry, I mean, Tennessee doesn't have a defensive coordinator. Your defense needs to look better than Tennessee's in this
Yep.
game. We'll see if it can happen. But overall, I am going to pick Illinois to win this game. Call me a homer, but I'm going to say 38-35 Illinois.
Yeah, I've got 35-31.
Yeah. And I guess I should preface the other thing I said is like I do think Tennessee has a bad defense. So I was talking about those bad teams that they were able to beat. I don't think Tennessee is a bad team, but I think Tennessee has a bad defense and they should be able to score on them. So
Mhm.
that was the other preface point there.
Yep.
So, anything else? He is Brett Bielema is 1-1 Illinois. So a lot of
Yeah.
those bowl game losses
I,
came at Wisconsin.
I was gonna say he was also 2-1 when he was a coach at Arkansas. So five
Yeah,
and six overall. 5-6 overall in bowl games.
5-6.
Yeah, because he's 3-5 plus the two and
Oh,
one.
okay,
He's 2-1 at Arkansas.
gotcha.
So
Gotcha. Yeah, because I didn't add those in. I was just doing Big Ten. Okay. All right. Zach, here's the fun one. Vanderbilt favored in this one by 5.5 at the ReliaQuest Bowl over Iowa. Over under set at 47.5. And this is really a game where I feel like if the score goes over, then this is going to be a Vanderbilt win. If the score goes under, I think this is going to be an Iowa win on a FanDuel there. So we'll see what happens. But Kirk Ferentz, he is the all-times win leader in bowl games, tied with Joe Paterno, both with 10 in the Big Ten. He is 10-11 overall. He has won 1 of his last 4. He's faced a lot of
mhm.
SEC teams here recently. And as we've documented on this podcast, that for Kirk Ferentz and the Iowa Hawkeyes, they are a very well coached team. They're very disciplined, but they do lack some of the athleticism. They have very athletic players in certain areas, but other times they do kind of lack some of the athleticism to be able to keep up with speed. I don't think Vanderbilt has that SEC athleticism. I think Vanderbilt is a very well coached team that has
Mhm.
a really good playmaker back there in Diego Pavia, and I think that was and Eli Stillworth, the tight end, is a very good player as well. He's All American. I mean, he's excellent, but I don't think Vanderbilt is your Tennessee from a few years ago. I don't think Vanderbilt is some of these SEC teams that just acquire talent and underachieve with them every single year. I think Vanderbilt's a team that has done more with less this season, and Clark Lee deserves credit for that. And Kirk
Mhm.
Ferentz is somebody that does more with less recruiting rankings. I won't say more with less because I think his players are talented and they develop them well, but this could be a really interesting game, and I'm excited to see it. What are your thoughts on it, Zach?
Yeah, I think, man, I feel like a a good comparison with I think why I think Iowa matches up pretty well with Vandy. I know Indiana fans are going to hate me for saying this, but it's Indiana because I think Indiana has, in a sense, overachieved above their talent level. Now they've developed, they've done a great job developing and getting the right guys in that system, and because of it, they've become a powerhouse this year. Vandy's not on that level, but I think to your point, I think if you're looking at the athlete profile, it is less powerhouse and more like well coached, getting the most out of your talent. Iowa nearly beat Indiana. And let's not forget, Iowa nearly beat uh, Oregon in Kinnick. I think Oregon's a much better offense and a much better talent overall than Vandy. And I think Vandy has gotten away with playing, quite honestly, a fairly weak schedule. Everybody wants to talk about all the top 25 teams that they played. Well, listen, they played number 11 South Carolina. Well, that's great. South Carolina stinks. They're like 4-8, right? They got revenge on their big loss to Georgia State last year. Um, so they beat them 70-21. But I think if you look at some of their more difficult games, right? They played at Alabama, they only scored 14. They played Missouri and they only scored 17. And then they played LSU, who again, they fell off a wagon, and they played at Texas, which Texas is good. They're not great. And they struggled in all those games offensively. And I think the thing that stands out to me, this is maybe the best defense that Vanderbilt's going to play. And they're disciplined. And so you have that mammoth defensive line with Graves and those boys. And you're telling me that Diego Pavia is going to throw it all over the yard and he's going to run all over the place? He might. I think that's the way that they have to play to win. But I just don't think they have the firepower on the perimeter and up front to deal with what I think is one of the more underrated defensive fronts in the country.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things you could say for this Iowa team that Vanderbilt hasn't seen that's as good as them yet. I mean, Iowa just won the Joe Moore Award. Congrats to Iowa. That's a
Mm.
fantastic achievement, and it's very well deserved. They were fantastic on the offensive line this season. And while that defensive line has maybe not been, uh, you know, I don't want to say they didn't meet the expectation because that sounds like they were bad, but I think some people were thinking they could be like a top five or top three defensive line in the Big Ten, and I think they were fringe top five. I think you probably have an argument for that, but I think there were other defensive lines in the Big Ten this season that were better. Maybe I should say fringe top three. I don't want to say they were fringe top five. I think they're top five, but they're probably a fringe top three defensive line. And I think if you were looking at Iowa in the preseason, you thought there was some better stuff there. But I do think that this is outside of maybe Alabama, I think this is probably the best defensive line that Vanderbilt has seen this season. And the thing with Alabama is they don't always play up to how good they are. So they played up to how good they were in that game against Vanderbilt. They held them to only 14 points, and Diego Pavia had a lot of trouble in that game. But I, the issue with Vanderbilt is that the best parts of their defensive line are on the interior. What's the best part of Iowa's offensive line? In the interior. And I think that the advantage that Vanderbilt is looking for in this game to try and win it is just not going to be there. I think it's going to be too evenly matched. And I think, honestly, it's not
Mhm.
even evenly matched. I think just Iowa is going to be better up front. And so I think you're going to see really good stuff from Mark Gronowski. And what happens when Iowa is better up front than the other team? You need really good linebacker play to come in and play really well against those guys. And I'm just not sure I've seen great linebacker play from Vanderbilt this season. Brian Longwell he's been good. I don't want to take anything away from him, but he's not been the run stopper that Iowa has had with their guys this season. And I do think Mark Gronowski could really run the ball on Vanderbilt in this one. Not to say Diego Pavia can't do it to Iowa's linebackers, because I think Iowa's linebackers are much better against standard run than they are against a mobile quarterback. But I'm not saying they're bad against them. I just think they're better in that area than the other ones. So
Mhm.
we'll see. It's going to be a very interesting matchup. It's going to be a very interesting game. I'm going to pick Iowa to win, but I fully acknowledge that Diego Pavia is enough of a playmaker that he could just will his team to win in this one. And
Mhm.
that's the most
Yeah.
important thing for Iowa to take away is Diego Pavia's playmaking ability. And if they can force Diego Pavia to be off balance, throw 2 or 3 interceptions in this game, I think Iowa seals it and they win it.
Yeah. I I just don't love this matchup for Vandy. And I know we've given Pavia a lot of junk, but just taking my bias glasses off and just looking at this game, I think it would be hard outside of Pavia's playmaking ability to make any arguments that Vanderbilt has edges over Iowa. Like, I just don't see them.
They're Pavia's playmaking ability, I think, would be the biggest edge, because if Iowa struggles with their tackling like they have at times when they just get kind of out athleted, sometimes that could be a huge thing. And the other thing that we haven't mentioned yet is no LeVar Woods for Iowa. Does that really impact the special teams? And does Iowa lose that edge with not having as good a special teams?
Yeah. Counterpoint, Vanderbilt's supposed to be smart. Are they smart enough to kick away from Legion?
Well, Michigan State wasn't. So
Which
Vanderbilt
is
is 8th in special teams on SP Plus.
okay.
They're actually better
Interesting.
than Iowa on SP Plus. Iowa is 24th.
Oh wow. That's
Yeah,
that's
I don't think that's accurate, but
yeah. But yeah, I think to that point, like if Vandy wins, it's because Pavia takes over, which is very possible. It's very possible.
what
I
if Pavia takes over and they win on special teams? I
yes.
think one of
Yeah.
those two things could determine the win for Vanderbilt.
Yeah. I don't think I don't think Iowa is going to lose a special teams battle. And I don't think Pavia is going to be able to take over. I
So
actually
what's your
think
score prediction?
27-13 Iowa.
Ooh, all right. I got closer. I got Iowa winning 20-17. I think this would be a really good game. I think this would be a fun game, and I think this is
Yeah.
going to be a game that we kind of talk about for years to come. I'm really looking forward to this one.
I think it will my score is not indicative of I just think Iowa's gonna be boa constrictor in this game.
Hmm.
Like I think they're just gonna pound away, pound away, pound away. Maybe it's 13-13 in late in the third quarter, and then they just kind of wear them down.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Um, moving on to where's it at? There it is. TCU and USC. USC favored by 6.5 in this one on FanDuel. Over under set at 55.5. And oh boy, you want to talk about opt outs? USC has a lot of them. TCU, the only one I could find is Josh Hoover, who's in the transfer portal. I guess the only one I could find of significance is Josh Hoover in the transfer portal. He's the one in the last episode that we talked about could be trending towards Indiana, so we'll see how that works out. But
Mhm.
in this one, USC does have a number of players in the transfer portal, and I do think that some people are a little concerned by this. I would remind them that USC brought in a big recruiting class. It was not just a good recruiting class, and it is a good recruiting class. It's number one or two recruiting class in the nation. But they brought in a lot of players as well, and it makes sense that USC is going to lose a number of players in the transfer portal. So I'm not super concerned about this for USC losing all these guys in the portal. You're losing guys like Walker Lyons, Brian Jackson, defensive lineman Devin Tompkins. I mean, you're losing guys on this team, but really what you're more concerned about is all the NFL draft talent that you're losing. Lake McCree,
Yep.
Jacoby Lemon, or Jacoby Lane, Jacoby Lemon, Makai Lemon, Anthony Lucas, Eric Gentry, Kamari Ramsey, and Bishop Fitzgerald are all supposed to not play in this game, I do believe. However, I still trust Lincoln Riley as an offensive coach. I
Mm-hmm.
think that TCU, they've not been bad on defense. I guess it's hard to say. I guess I shouldn't preface it that way. Like, to me, Lincoln Riley is always just going to be exceptional on offense. And Jada
Mm-hmm.
Mayava coming back. I know Jada Mayava kind of had, some rough patches there at the end of the season. I don't think he's going to end the year on a rough patch. And I think King Miller is going to be a really good running back for him in this game as
Yep.
well. And you look at that NFL draft talent that's leaving and the transfer portal stuff, not, offensive line's not there. So USC, this might be a game where they run the ball a lot, win with the run game, and they have a deep wide receiver room too. It's not like they just have chumps at wide receiver behind Makai Lemon and Jacoby Lane. Now, obviously, they're not them, but overall, I think USC is going to still win this game. I still trust them to take down TCU. What's your thoughts, Zach?
Yeah, I would have a lot more trepidation if Josh Hoover weren't out for TCU.
Yep.
But I think that's, you know, you're losing your top two safeties, NFL draft eligible in Ramsey and Fitzgerald, and you're like, oh man, if TCU has a quarterback that can really exploit that, this could be a shootout. USC may not score as many points because their top two wide receivers are out, McCree's out. Oh boy, what are they going to do? But Hoover's not going to play. And Hoover, we've been talking about, he's kind of an Indiana target. And what does Cignetti do with transfer quarterbacks? He makes them awesome. So Hoover's had a good year. He's not playing in this game. So I don't know who TCU has behind him, but I don't like if I'm TCU, I don't love my chances against the USC team that, yes, they're losing a lot of talent, but you know who they have that's going to play for them? Jaden Mayava, King Miller, that offensive line. And I think he's going to do some business on that TCU defense.
Yeah, to your credit, TCU's backup quarterback is Ken Seals. He's only played in 2 games this season, 4 of 6 passing in those 2 games. He has a PFF grade of less than 50. So not great. So we'll see how it goes. I'm not too concerned for USC. I feel like they'll win. I don't know if they'll blow them out. I am going to pick a blowout for USC over TCU, but we'll see. I have USC winning this game 42-24.
I'll go a little lower scoring because I do think the receivers being out hinders, but I also think TCU is not going to be able to score as much. I'm going to pick 31-20 USC.
All right, good stuff. All right, next one, Central Michigan and Northwestern. Northwestern favored in this one by 11.5 on FanDuel. Over under set at 43.5. I'll be honest, these are the bowl games I'm just not super interested in. I'm sorry, Northwestern. I would have loved to see you in a bigger bowl game, but I think, it just kind of is what it is. You're playing a group of 5 MAC team here in Central Michigan, and I'm not trying to discredit Central Michigan, but I just think Northwestern's going to be just fine in this game. Do I think they're going to blow them out and go crazy against them? No, but I think David Braun, he takes bowl games seriously. I think that this Northwestern team, with a lot of guys playing in this game, not a lot of opt-outs and everything, we'll see what happens. There's the potential for like a Caleb Tiernan and Anto Saka to possibly not play, but that's not been announced by anybody yet, so we'll see. But overall, I think Northwestern's going to win this game. I'll predict it 31-20. Your thoughts, Zach?
Yeah, 31-17. I just don't think, and I could see where Central Michigan actually scores even less than that. I just don't think they're going to be able to hold up against Northwestern's defense.
What P4 teams did Central Michigan play this season?
That's a good question.
Played Pitt and lost 45-17. That's right. And they played Michigan and they lost 63-3. You know who's coaching in that game?
Biff Poggi.
They're better with Biff. Better with Biff.
Hold on. It's a 66 or 60 point win over a MAC team. Let's calm down. But you're right.
and an away win against Nebraska. So
I thought you were about to say an away win against Central Michigan. I'm like, did Michigan really travel to Central Michigan?
no,
I'm like, no, they didn't. They didn't. I know they
no, but
didn't.
they were set to go to Germany against who was it? Western Michigan.
That did that get
Yeah, that got
canceled?
canceled. I'm pretty sure.
Uh,
So
yeah, yeah.
I would never go to Germany to play a group of six team. I'm sorry, group of six. You can be in the playoffs. I'll let you have one spot there. I am never going to Germany to play a group of six team. It's not happening.
But the
Neither is Sharon Moore.
pretzels and the
So,
and the Wiener Schnitzel.
yeah. So all right, last game here, Zach. Texas and Michigan. Texas favored in this one by 7.5 on FanDuel. Over under set at 46.5. I do think this is one where I think a lot of people are gonna lean Texas and pick Texas in this one, but they have a lot of talent leaving in this one. You have a whole lot. Obviously Will Muschamp coming in, Pete Kowatski. I've said his name in a different video, but I'm forgetting how to say it now. He's out, so Will Muschamp is in here. But Texas is losing quite a bit of talent for this one. C.J. Baxter, Jarek Gibson, Connor Estro, and Liana Lafoe. Derek Williams Jr. all going to be in the transfer portal, and then you're losing quite a bit of NFL talent. Michael Taffy, Malik Muhammad, Jalen Golby, Anthony Hill Jr., Trey Moore, Ethan Burke, and DeAndre Moore not going to be playing in this game for Texas. Now, Michigan does have Derek Moore, Jayshon Barham, and Giovanni El-Hadi out in this game as they are not going to play either. So they do have a few guys that are key pieces for this team that aren't going to be playing. And who was the other one? Ernest Hausman. He's not playing with Michigan, but that happened during the season. So that one we've known about. But what's your thoughts on this one, Zach? I mean, does Michigan have a chance here? I feel like they do. Even with the coaching change and stuff like that. And I think Biff Poggi is going to get these guys playing pretty hard. But what's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, they certainly have a chance, right? Like especially I think with all the opt outs. I mean, you're talking about a lot of NFL level talent with Taff, Muhammad, Hill. I mean, you're talking about a big chunk of their back seven. This is maybe my main concern. Can Michigan exploit that? Because we saw Underwood and Marsh struggle a lot, granted against a very elite defense in Ohio State. But Underwood has not looked great. I said Nick Marsh, Andrew Marsh. Andrew Marsh was nowhere to be seen in the rivalry game. Meanwhile, while Texas is losing all these guys, they are coming off a very big win against their rival in Texas A&M, one of their rivals, I should say. And Arch Manning is starting to look better. I know DeAndre Moore is leaving, but he's still got some weapons on the outside, Ryan Wingo being one of them. So it's a hard game to predict because you look at the list of names that are not starting or not playing for Texas, and you're like, that's not good. But also Texas does have a pretty deep roster. So I think that's a question for me is how much of these departures impact Texas, and do they impact Texas more than Michigan's turmoil and their opt-outs? I know there's less opt-outs, but I'm just curious how much it impacts both teams.
Yeah, I feel like you're going to get Justice Haynes in this game. If you get him and Jordan Marshall both back in this one, um, I think Michigan wins this game. So the last comments we got on Justice Haynes from Sharon Moore, this was back on December 7th. So this was, about 2 weeks ago now. He said on Justice Haynes, he said it's something we'll look at. We'll see his progress is going really good. We'll get more answers and clarity as we go through the week, which is always kind of his standard answer for Justice Haynes. So he might still be out. Who knows? There's not been an official bowl opt out or anything like that. And then Jordan Marshall, he said Jordan will be great. He fought through that. He has a shoulder that's dinged up in the game before, toughed it through, tried as much as he could. You wish he could have played the whole game. with 6 carries for 70-something yards, but really he pushed as much as he could, and when he couldn't, he couldn't. But he'll be ready for the bowl game. So as long as nothing's changed since December 7th, sounds like Jordan Marshall will be there at the very least, and Justice
Yeah.
Haynes. I mean, they acted like Haynes is going to be back after the season for the bowl game.
I'm
So
everything I'm reading right now, I was just looking it up. I think it's leaning towards a no.
for
But
Haynes,
who knows? Yeah, for Haynes.
yeah.
Not for Marshall.
So
Marshall's playing.
yeah,
But
Marshall's playing.
yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how there's all that much information out there for it right now because everything's so focused on
Mhm.
the head coach. But I don't know. Was Biff Poggi asked about it in the press conference?
I don't know. That's a good
He's probably
question. Let
asked
me
about everything else under the sun, but
yeah.
there's a lot to
Yeah.
ask in that Michigan press conference about the bowl game today. Not so much about the bowl game, but more so about everything else that's going on. So even
Yeah.
if Justice Haynes doesn't play, I still feel like Jordan Marshall gonna be really good for Michigan. Obviously, I think Michigan with the a number of players back on that offensive line. You had some freshmen starting there before, so they're obviously going to be playing really hard for Michigan in this one. And Biff Poggi, I just think Biff Poggi's going to unleash Bryce Underwood. I think he's going to let Bryce Underwood play fast and free and just kind of be out there and be who he is. It felt like Sharon Moore kind of put him in a box a little bit. No
Mm.
Chip Lindsey there. I mean, is this a game where Bryce Underwood can win you the game, similar to how Diego Pavia would win you the game, type of deal? Like, I feel like we're going to see some backyard football in this one a little bit with Bryce Underwood, and that could either go really good or really bad.
Yeah. I'm hesitant to pick Michigan because I think we saw that they are much closer to like not I shouldn't say Michigan State. I think they're much closer to like a Minnesota than they are a like an Oregon or an Iowa. And like the wins that were really, I thought, popped off the paper, they don't pop anymore. Like the win at Nebraska, it's like, okay, great, they won by 3, but Nebraska fell off a cliff. Um, and I think Texas is, even with all the losses, and listen, Texas A&M is not great. Like I think that everybody hyping them up and saying that they were like the number 1 team in the SEC. It's like, listen, they feasted off the bottom feeders of that conference. They got exposed. They got lucky to beat Notre Dame, but they still beat Texas A&M in a big game. That carries some weight and some momentum. I do think Arch Manning has changed. I'm going to pick Texas in this game, 28-20. I'll go 28-21. I just think I think the backyard football is true for Underwood. I think it also could be true for Arch Manning. And I think Arch has learned a bit more this year than just with his first year of starting.
You know what? You can't call me a Michigan hater. I'll pick Michigan to win this one. 27-24. Take Michigan over Texas. Texas losing too much, losing their defensive
Mm,
coordinator. Yeah, I think Michigan has a good shot at winning this one. Even if they don't win it, I think Michigan will cover.
mhm.
I don't see Texas being a team that has enough firepower to be able to just really dismantle Michigan. Even with Derek Moore and Jayshon Barham out, like I still feel like Michigan's gonna have enough on that defense to, give Arch Manning some challenges and make it tough on him. So that's what I'll take. All right. Anything else on the bowl game, Zach, before we get out of here?
No, it's just one note. I'm so used to the Citrus Bowl being on New Year's Day, but it's the 3 o'clock game uh, as the prelude to the Cotton Bowl. And the it's ReliaQuest Bowl, Citrus Bowl, Cotton Bowl. That's a solid New Year's Eve
Mm-hmm.
of Big Ten football.
Yeah, it's gonna be a whole lot of fun. I mean, be parked on your couch for that one, watching Iowa, Vanderbilt, then Michigan, Texas. It'd be better if it was Ohio State, Texas A&M because it'd be 3 straight Big Ten SEC matchups. But you know what? We'll take Ohio State, Miami there as well.
Listen, Texas A&M is not in there because they stink.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I go back. I'm excited to go back or to talk about the playoff games before they happen next week, because I think my attitude is changing a little bit on Ohio State, Miami, and on Indiana, Alabama. Indiana, Alabama a little bit.
You
Just
gonna
the
pick
more I
Indiana to win by
watch,
more?
probably.
Okay. The Indiana fans weren't happy with you.
Listen, the Indiana fans need to chill. I wasn't like I was saying they're going to get upset. I was just saying it might be a tougher game than you think.
I
I
was just
still
messing
think
with you.
that, but also y'all
I
need
was
to
just saying,
chill, man.
you picked a close game and nobody was happy with you. Both the Indiana fans were saying, Zach, pick us by more. And then the Alabama fans were, you think Indiana's going to beat us?
Okay,
Paul!
here's all I'm gonna say to Alabama fans: you're not as good as you think you are. Like you're just not, and you can't. You're not the Nick Saban led Bama team anymore. Kalen DeBoer is. I do think Kalen DeBoer is better than we've given him credit for. I do think that. I think he's. He really. I think he made some good adjustments in that Oklahoma game. Also, Oklahoma stinks. Like they were not good. And like, watching that game back, it was not good football.
You watched it again?
not as much. Thankfully, not a ton.
Wow.
But it was not good football.
No, it was not.
And anybody who's saying, well, we watched Ohio State, Indiana 10-13, and that was bad. You guys don't know ball. If that's if that's your assessment.
I think there's a perception out there of, well, if the game was fun to watch, it was good football. Listen, the Texas A&M and Miami game was really fun to watch because it was just like nobody could take the lead, and it was just kind of like back and forth, back and forth. So that was fun to watch, but it was still bad football. I'm not going to say Alabama, Oklahoma wasn't fun to watch, but it was a lot of bad foot. Like it was fun because it was so bad, right? Miami and Oklahoma, or Miami and Texas A&M was fun, not because it was bad football. I didn't think it was the best football ever, but also the windy conditions kind of helped make that happen. It was just fun football because it was like one of those old Big Ten West games, right? Where it's like neither team is really pulling away with this one. It's so low scoring. Somebody's gonna have to come out and be the winner. Fun time, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. I just the quarterback play in particular. I think that's the thing people need to understand. The quarterback play is head and shoulders above in the Big Ten than everybody else. And it's not just us saying, like David Pollock said it. And Pollock has been banging the drum for SEC SEC is much more competitive than the Big Ten. But then he very clearly came out and was like, by the way, the reason why the Big Ten teams can win the national championship is because the quarterbacks can spin it. Mm-hmm. And that is accurate. Carson Beck, Marcel Reed, Ty Simpson, and John Mateer are flat out not good enough. Now, here's my caveat. Ty Simpson can be good enough.
Just not consistently enough.
Yeah, but he's not consistent. And that's why I'm like, Bama can beat Indiana. If Ty Simpson can be good the entire game.
Holy cow. Illinois just beat Missouri 91-48 in basketball.
In men's basketball?
Yes.
Go Illinois. Yes.
A lot of bragging rights there for Illinois. Great job, Illinois.
Take down the SEC. Take down the SEC. Make up for all the.
That's what I would like the Illinois Tennessee final score to be. Make it happen, Brett. Make it happen, Bert. All right. Happy bowl watching in the Big Ten. Going to be a fun time. We will be back to talk about all the bowl games once they're finished. Going to see a lot of them from the 26th to the 31st. A number of them are on the 31st, a few on the 30th, and I think there's 2 on the 26th, and the Pinstripe Bowl is on the 27th. So have fun watching. Should be a good time. Thank you for listening. Thanks for watching the Big Ten Huddle. We'll see you next time. Have a good one.